Thank you for joining us for Working Through the Word, a ministry of the Richmond Church of Christ. Let's join our pulpit minister, Mike Johnson, as he brings today's lesson.
In that text, Paul told Timothy to have moments with himself. We've studied all year in moments like these. We have 2 left. We're getting to the end of the year and planning for the next one. And therefore, it makes sense to me that we think about moments with ourselves, moments with myself, and close the year, moments with God. Moments with myself. Paul said to Timothy, examine yourself. Take stock. See what's going on. Now, most of us, well, I'm going to think that it's most of us. I can tell you this. I know that very often I have a number of comments about what people think about this, that, or the other in my life and me. It's okay. I appreciate the help. But I rather imagine that you get a lot of insight too. Maybe a spouse, maybe a really good friend, maybe your children, or maybe you tell your children. You're getting information from others about you. But when did you sit down and talk to yourself about yourself? In moments like these, the whole theme has been devoted to the fact that all of life is filled with moments. And in those moments, there are things with God that we have to consider. And every one of us has moments with ourselves. Sometimes they just happen. Maybe sometimes they're planned. Here's the idea. Paul wrote in 2 Corinthians chapter 3 and in verse 5, examine yourselves whether you are in the faith. Examine yourselves to know whether you are approved of God. Now here's the question. When we think about examining ourselves, and we think about being able to say, I am approved or I'm unapproved, that's what we're talking about. We're going through that process, have been, in our country right now. Maybe you didn't recognize it. But what we're going through in our country in the terminology is exactly what this text and others that we will consider are telling us. We're trying to decide and find who are the documented and the undocumented workers. That's what this word is. The word is dokimos, and it means to document. To be able to write it down and say, here's the verification right here. Now, I have that responsibility. That's what Paul said in 2 Corinthians 13:5. I can't overlook the idea that the command was, examine yourself. To find out if I'm approved or unapproved. Now here's the question. Approved or unapproved by whom? Well, every single one of us says, and we would be right, I want to be approved by God. Well, certainly that is in there. But I want you to think for a few minutes about approving of yourself. I've met with some people recently that have this as a common theme. I don't know if I'm right. I don't know if I am sure about myself. I can quote all the passages, or I can find all the passages. I can read all the verses about what God says, but I don't know about me. When you look in the mirror, what do you know about you? What do you know? I think it is important for us to consider the fact that God is asking me, no, instructing me to document to myself who I am. Now, obviously, that's going to take some honesty. It's going to take a willingness to hear what you have to say about yourself. And certainly, it would include whatever research I need to do to help me. Yes, I want to know for myself, but I'm willing to let you help me. I'm willing to ask you to give me some advice. I'm willing to let you have input because I'm trying to examine myself, and I want to be honest with me. It's important, not only because it is a command, but it is important because if I cannot approve of myself, not in a boastful or conceited way, but if I cannot approve of myself, I cannot have a joyful life. It's just not possible. Now, admittedly, we all know we fail. We all mess up. That's not the point. The point is, can I approve of myself? Can I document to me that I am on a good path? Well, for instance, this is evidence of people on a good path. It doesn't mean that if you're not here, you're on a bad path. But here's what it does mean. Here are people who want to make sure they're on a good path. They really believe that this is helpful in documenting for themselves that they are in a good situation. And so all of us want to be that way. It's important. There have been many people in Scripture, maybe you can think of your own, who had moments with themselves. And we begin then to compare ourselves with them. Some of those, when they had their moments with themselves, didn't start out too good, did it? Moses, I pick you. You're going to lead my people out of Egypt. Exodus chapter 2 and 3. What? I can't. That's his moment with himself. He stood there at the burning bush. He encountered the voice of God. He was given an instruction. And in that moment with himself, he said, I can't. Have you had those kind of moments? I can't. I can't. What do they say when you were a kid? Can't, never tried. Can't, never tried. I can't. Luke 15. The prodigal son had a moment with himself. In fact, it is the only time that the text or that the scripture uses the phrase this way. Well, there are two, but not exactly the same, but pretty close. Here's the prodigal son. He's sitting there getting what he wanted, but getting what he didn't want. And he's sitting there next to the pig trough. And he said, I'm ready to eat right there. That's what I want, the slop. I love telling that story to the preschool kids. And I say, do you know what pigs eat? And they said, no. I said, they eat slop. What's slop? Well, you put the food in mud and water and let them go at it. Ooh. But he was ready to eat that. And then the text says, and he came to himself. He came to himself. Now, if you don't understand the idiom, maybe you're from a foreign country and you don't get the idiom, you're going to think, wait a minute, you were over there and you came to yourself? Yep. The other occasion was with the man who had the demon possession, if you remember, and the text says, and he was not in his right mind. It's true. Here he is sitting there when he came to himself, and he says, I'm a failure. And he resigned himself to live the consequences of a failure. I'm going to go home and be a servant. Have you ever had a moment with yourself when your reaction was, I'm a failure, and I'm just going to live with it? But now some people, when they had their moments, they turned out pretty good, started out good. Moses turned out pretty good. The prodigal son turned out pretty good. He didn't start neither of them very well. But here's a man that started really well. Isaiah is having this vision of God and his throne room in Isaiah chapter 6. And after seeing this fantastic scene, he hears God say, who will go with me or for me? And it's as though Isaiah raised his hand and said, send me. I wonder if that's something that God put in Scripture to teach each of us. We ought to be raising our hands every now and then and say, I'll do it. I'll do it. You ever had a moment with yourself and you were able to say, I'm ready right now. Send me right now. Acts 21, verse 13. Paul had been arrested and he was going to head to Jerusalem, and he knew that he was going to die. He knew they were going to put him to death, and the brethren didn't want him to go. And what did he say? He had a moment with himself right there. I am ready to die. Have you had a moment with yourself? When the situation was such that you had to look in the mirror and say, I'm ready to die. Now you take the guy who says, send me, I'm ready to die. That's a joyful life. That's a confident and an assured life. And the one who says, I can't because I'm a failure. Who wants to live like that? We need to know which one we are. We need to have moments with ourselves so that we can do this self-evaluation process. This word, dokimazo, document, is used in Scripture and gives us some ideas about how to do it. Romans 12, verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is good and acceptable and complete will of God. 1 Thessalonians 5:21, test all things, hold on to what is good. I need to have moments with myself. I need to use moments with myself intentionally to determine what is good. I need to confront that idea. I'm not talking about, is this good or is this evil? I'm talking about the concept of what is good in my life that I'm holding on to. I want to know for me, this is what's good, and I'm going to hold on to it with everything I have, and I can document it. It's good. I need to have a moment with myself for the purpose, first, of assuring, reminding, informing myself what is good. Because I want something good in my life, and you do too. Number two, I should have these moments with myself so that I can be pleasing to myself. And you're going to go, wait a minute, hold on just a minute. Well, that's not my job. Well, sure it is. In Galatians chapter 6, Paul writes about bearing burdens. But then he says in verse 4, but let each one of you examine your own work. Now, did you notice why? Notice what he says. Then he will have rejoicing in himself and not in another. Now, I've been told all my life, and you have too, don't you brag, don't you be arrogant, don't you be conceited. And yet God tells me so that I can be pleasing to myself. What's he saying? I want to be able to know that I am confidently where I need to be. Maybe you don't think I am. I'll listen. But I need to know for me where I am. It's important that each one of us have a faith that is ours and not borrowed from somebody else. If you are who you are because somebody else wants you to be there, and that's how you are all of your life, you got a problem. Maturity comes when saying, I want to be there. This is my faith because this is what I want. This is what I want. So be able to be pleasing to yourself. Number 3, I want to be able to be pleasing to God. I want to know what is acceptable to Him, Ephesians 5 and verse 10. Finding out what is acceptable. Finding out is documenting. How am I going to figure that out? What can I do to know what pleases God? Well, you're going to hear some things about that in the coming year because I've been challenged. Steve Olson is taking me through some concepts of leadership that I really appreciate. And I'm going to use some of that. And you're going to hear, because some of that is going to relate to this very thing. Finding out what is acceptable to the Lord. I need to know what I can teach that the Lord approves of. And being confident in that. And doing that. And showing that. I need to know with a surety that I am pleasing God. So when this word appears, it appears because I need to know what's good. And I need to know what pleases me. I need to be pleasing to myself and not rely on somebody else to make me right. I need to be able to do it for me. And I certainly want to please God. And in doing that, I'm able to be confident and assured. I can know that I am here. I can know where I am. And I can be right. But only when I have moments with myself. In Psalm 139, the psalmist gave us a theme for doing moments with ourselves. He said, "Teach me to know. Teach me, Lord, so that I will know and that I will be instructed by you." Verse 23. How do you do that? Search me, God. That's dangerous. Open up and say, okay, God, search me. Know my heart. And then try me. Notice how that is. Search me. Find out my heart. And then test me to prove that it's true. Now, do I want to go through that? Spiritually, yeah. Physically, maybe not. Because what he's saying is, burn out all the impurities, discipline me the way you think I need to be, and then I will know. I will have had a moment with myself. That's what Paul was telling Timothy there in 1 Timothy. It was toward the end of his life. He's going to be leaving Timothy behind when he's killed. He's trying to help Timothy know how to be this servant of the Lord. And it begins, he said, with meditating on yourself. We need moments. Now, if I say, we all just need a moment, then a mother who's been at home with children all day says, I just need a moment to myself. Have you ever heard a mother say, I can't even go into the bathroom by myself? You've been there, right, moms? Or someone who goes to a job and all day long people are coming in and out and saying and pushing and driving, and you say, I just need a moment to myself. You know what that means, don't you? Well, that's what this is about. Because every day we're fighting the battle of Satan pushing through people and through opportunities, and he's constantly getting at us, and we simply need to say, I need a moment. And in that moment, I need to have a consideration with myself so that I can know who I am. And in knowing who I am, I can know how I can please God. And next month, our moments with God are going to be important. I hope you've been examining yourself during this time like I have me. And I hope we leave better than we came. I hope we leave with greater resolve, greater desire intentionally to say, who am I and who do I need to be? Well, part of knowing self, having a moment with self, is listening to others. And as we encourage and inspire and help each other, we get better. Tonight, can we encourage you to do something that you want to do? Maybe by our singing, we will do that. And you'll be ready to obey the gospel. You'll be ready to come back to the Lord. You'll be ready simply between you and the Lord to say, I'm going to have some moments with myself and do better. We can help you tonight. Let's stand and sing together.
We hope that you enjoyed today's broadcast, brought to you by the Richmond Church of Christ. We are located at 1500 Lancaster Road in Richmond, Kentucky. We meet at 9 a.m. each Sunday morning for Bible class, followed by our morning worship service held at 10 a.m. Our Sunday evening service is held at 6 p.m. Our midweek Bible study is held on Wednesday at 7 p.m. We have Bible classes available for all ages on Sunday mornings and Wednesday evenings. If you are in the area, we would love to have you as our honored guest. If you're looking for a home church, we would love to make you part of our family here in Richmond. We hope this has been a blessing to you and pray that you have been strengthened and encouraged. Have a blessed day.